Back to Washington now, where some House Democrats are urging President Biden to take action to fix the crisis at the southern border. The group of lawmakers sending a letter to the president asking him to use all the tools at his disposal to address border security, including taking executive action. But the White House placing the blame for inaction on House Republicans after failing to pass a border bill earlier this year. So here to talk more about it, I'd like to welcome in John Sandweg, who served as acting ICE director in the Obama administration. John, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. First of all, what is your reaction to House Democrats calling on our president to take border executive action?
You know, Nichole, not terribly surprised. Obviously, look, the polls have indicated that this is becoming a major issue of concern for voters. Most of these Democrats are facing tough elections, and I think they want to be seen as doing something about this issue and putting pressure on the administration. I'll tell you, though, Nichole, I think, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some administrative action from the White House in the coming weeks. And I wouldn't be surprised if this letter is in part coordinated, you know, with the White House, because recognizing the political nature of this issue, you know, there's been some other signs that the administration is considering taking some unilateral administrative actions to address the situation at the border.
So, John, you say you think we will see some type of action. Kind of lay out what some of that could be. I mean, do you think we'll see the administration's border response shift in any way?
I think we will. Listen, remember, the White House joined with a bipartisan group in the Senate to put forward some significant reforms that would put caps on the number of asylum claims that could be allowed daily, and really would adopt some of the, you know, some reforms that would look similar to some of the things that were done during the Trump administration. That bill was ultimately killed in the House, and I wouldn't be surprised to see if the president now tries to unilaterally adopt some of the provisions that were set forth in that bill. There's been some signs coming out of the White House that they're strongly considering it. And despite, you know, politically, look, as I mentioned at the outset, polling has indicated this is becoming an issue of concern, and it'll be a serious issue in the election.
Yeah.
Thus far, the president has been able to say again and again, hey, the Republicans are the ones who killed this Senate bill, right? They're blaming it on them. Right. But I'm not convinced that they think that that's going to be sufficient to carry them through November. And that's why I think you're going to see, you know, a strong likelihood that we're going to see some administrative actions in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and John, as you said, I mean, this is becoming, polling shows that it is becoming a bigger issue for Americans, you know, on both sides, Republicans, Democrats, independents. What has the White House got right when it comes to the border? And are they doing a good enough job of telling Americans, hey, here are some things we are doing or we are trying to do?
You know, Nichole, listen, the administration inherited an incredibly difficult hand. This problem did not start in the Biden administration. There was a lull due to COVID, but it was very similar images during the Trump administration. And really, it started during my time at DHS during the Obama administration. I think the administration recognizes the crux of the problem is this. Congress has never funded our asylum system. And then the situation of the border shifted, where the threat used to be individuals who snuck across the border. You know, we needed more Border Patrol agents, fencing, technology to interdict them. But now what's happened is the migrants are being trained to claim asylum, and they've overwhelmed our asylum system. And it's not the Biden administration's fault that we haven't funded that piece of the system. So what has the Biden administration got right? They've done a good job of trying to promote efficiency in the system. But the truth is, it's just not enough. And ultimately, you know, look, they are in charge, and you see these images, and these are the images that I think, you know, voters are very frustrated by. And I don't know that they care about these technical explanations. Right. They just want results.
Absolutely. Last question for you, John. What is something tangible that you think we will see happen next?
Listen, I wouldn't be surprised, Nichole, again, this is speculating, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a more bipartisan kind of series of administrative actions. There are also a lot of more progressive Democrats calling on the administration to enact some reforms that will make, you know, help legalize undocumented individuals who've been in this country a long time. I wouldn't be surprised to see if the administration tries to roll out its own bipartisan bill, but through administrative action, where it takes some tough steps at the border, but at the same time makes some moves in the interior to help some of these people who've been in this country a long time, have no status. Look, I think one thing is clear, that the numbers have dropped in the last month. Mexico has done a very good job of helping the United States, but if those numbers pick back up, this issue will be, you know, right at the front pages again. And I think the administration is prepared to take some action to be ready to address that if it happens.
Well, we will certainly see what happens. Former acting ICE Director John Sandweg, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.